I love my dog, and my dog loves me. But you know what he loves even more than me? Treats. Hi, I'm Callan Duke, author of How to Upcycle Nearly Everything and How to Upcycle Nearly Everything for the Outdoors. You can find my projects here on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Be sure to go to callanduke.com and sign up for my newsletter. You'll get a free ebook all about pockets. It's filled with the confounding history of women's pockets and, of course, lots of projects. In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make this treat bag, which someone's excited about. You can also use it as a chalk bag when you go rock climbing or when you lift weights. So come on, let's go. You too. For this project, you'll need two different types of stiff, heavy-duty material. I use this old firewood carrier and a thrifted raincoat. You'll also need about 1 foot of 1/2 inch webbing, also known as strapping, zip tie boning or any stiff material that you can bend, about 2 feet of elastic cording, a toggle, scrap paper, a pen, and a compass. The circle making kind, not the direction finding kind. Cutting out the pieces. First, dust off the old compass and make a circle that is 5 inches in diameter. Trace over your pencil circle with a pen, cut it out. Another way to make a circle is by starting with a dot in the middle of a piece of paper. Center the dot at 2.5 inches on a ruler. Mark 0 and 5 inches. And then connect the dots in a straight line. Repeat these steps in many directions, making sure to line up your center point at 2.5 inches. When you have enough lines to make a circle, trace around the outer edge, first in pencil and then in pen. Cut the circle out, then use it as a pattern piece to cut one circle from each of your fabrics. From one of your materials, cut a rectangle that is 16 inches by 13.5 inches. This will serve as the interior of your bag. From your other material, cut a rectangle that is 16 by 7 inches. This will be the exterior of your bag. Sewing the exterior bag. Take the smaller rectangle that you cut and with right sides in, sew the short sides together. Use a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now we're going to connect one of your circles to the tube that you just made. I'm not going to lie, this part is a little tricky, but if you cut little triangles within your seam allowance, it makes sewing the circle to the cylinder that much easier. With right sides together, pin your circle to the opening in your cylinder. Now, carefully sew the two pieces together using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Sewing the interior bag. With right sides in, sew the short sides of your big rectangle together, but leave a 1 inch gap at the top. Spread open the seam allowance and sew around the opening like so. Fold the top over so that the raw edges line up with the bottom of the opening. Pin down. Sew this folded over bit down. Now, just like you did with your exterior bag, prepare your remaining circle, pin it to the cylinder, and sew the circle and the cylinder together. Now you should have two slightly different sized cylindrical bags. Take your larger bag, your interior bag, and turn it inside out. Place it inside of the exterior bag. Fold over the extra fabric of the interior bag. Hang in there, we're almost done. Look at that, it's already starting to look like the thing that we're trying to make. Making a casing for your stiffener. Stitch the two bags together about 1 inch away from the opening. This is where your stiffener or your zip ties are going to go, so just make sure the casing is wider than your stiffener. If your zip ties are short, you can weave two together like this. Use a seam ripper to make an opening in the casing at the seam. Lace your stiffener through the casing. Attach it to itself and force this bulky bit away from the seam. Making a casing for the elastic cording. Remember this little casing you made and this notch you created? Well, they're going to come in really handy now. We're going to sew down this flap of the interior bag right at the bottom. First, put about 1/2 inch of one end of your webbing under the flap. Do you recognize this from my old firewood carrier? Now sew down the flap as close as possible to the edge of the fabric. You're both creating a casing and securing your strap. Place the other end of your strap inside of the bag. Now pin all layers together. You're going to be sewing that strap in place just below your elastic casing. Sew down your strap where you pinned it. Last step, now you're going to lace the elastic cording through the casing. Attach your elastic cording to a safety pin, and starting at the little notch that you created, lace the cording through your casing. Attach your toggle, tie a knot in the cording, and voila! You have a dog treat bag, or a chalk bag, or just a cute little bag to hold whatever you want. Well, hopefully now you have a bag that looks a little something like this for a little someone who looks something like this. You can find instructions for this project and many more in my new book, How to Upcycle Nearly Everything for the Outdoors. The book is full of step-by-step instructions for projects that you can use on your outdoor adventures. Happy upcycling!